Is it time to reimagine your future? The right business skills may make a difference in your career. At Capella University, we offer a relevant education that's designed to focus on what you need to know in the business world. We'll teach professional skills to help you pursue your goals, like business management, strategic planning, and effective communication. And you can apply these skills right away. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hi. Sorry, did I startle you? When you're used to hearing a certain type of commercial, something like this can, well, take you by surprise. That's kind of how it is with the Lexus RX, a vehicle that has continued to defy expectations for over 25 years. From the first luxury vehicle of its kind, to the first hybrid luxury vehicle, to the only plug-in hybrid worthy of the RX name. We understand you want more than the everyday SUV. And isn't being understood an amazing feeling? Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm gonna be.
It happened. It so happened. They killed Sooner Magic. Columbia, Missouri is the place that'll be known as the location where Sooner Magic died. Oklahoma scores with 2 minutes left in the game. 2 minutes left in the game. They score to go up 23-16 on Missouri. Now, with 8:47 left in the game, Oklahoma trailed 16-9. With 3 minutes and 18 seconds left in the game, Oklahoma had tied it at 16 on a throwback pass from Taylor Tatum to Jackson Arnold. At the 2-minute mark, at a minute and 18 seconds later, Billy Bowman runs in a fumble from 43 yards out, 23-16. Sooner Magic is back. It is like the Auburn game part 2. Defense comes in and saves the day. But no. Sooner Magic died. A minute and 3 seconds left in the game. Missouri scores on a 10-yard touchdown pass to Theo Weiss. And then with 22 seconds left in the game, Zion Young runs a Jackson Arnold fumble, 17 yards to the house, 30-23. Caleb, Missouri outscored Oklahoma 14-0. 14-0 over the last 2 minutes of the game. I'm throwing it out there, man. This is the season Sooner Magic died.
Yeah, it was a just frustrating second half to watch. And it's the second time we've seen this offense make zero adjustments going into second halves. You know, we had a 14-10 lead over Ole Miss, come out and don't do anything else on offense. We had a 9-3 lead going into the second half of this Missouri game, and it takes the last little bit of the fourth quarter for Oklahoma to finally score a touchdown to tie that game up. That came off a missed field goal from Missouri to even be able to put us in a position to tie the game up. It was just that loss just recaps this season perfectly. There's no other way to put it.
You know, you had that missed extra point from the Tigers, and I said at that point, remember, in our group chat, I was like, "Hey, this is it, right? Sooner Magic. We're going to get some Sooner Magic," and you gave me a one-word response. You said, "Nope." And then they do the throwback to Jackson Arnold. We have a tie score, and I was like, "Sooner Magic, baby." And then Billy Bowman runs it in. I was like, "Sooner Magic, baby." And then boom, they're like, "We got your Sooner Magic. Here you go, Missouri. Drive the field on us with less than 2 minutes left in the game. Oh, yeah, and if that's not enough, let's let Jackson Arnold do what Jackson Arnold does best. We'll turn the ball over and just let Missouri walk it off with a fumble recover." Basically, Oklahoma on the night, 4 turnovers. You just can't win games. And we're going to talk so much bad. I don't, if you want something positive, this may be the edition of the Sooner Nation podcast you don't listen to. But Caleb, it doesn't matter. I mean, you want to talk about coaching You want to talk about clock management. You want to talk about game management. You want to talk about offensive line. You want to talk about receivers. You want to talk about defensive collapse. I mean, you can throw all that out there, but it's hard to win, much less win on the road in conference when you turn the ball over 4 times. And that is your story. That's the story of this game. And unfortunately, Jackson Arnold, look, I'm done with him. I'm done. And I'm the guy who said we're getting the best version ever of Jackson Arnold. No, we're not. He regressed so far. He regressed so much. I mean, this is back to first half against Tennessee bad, except for this time it actually cost you the game in the fourth quarter instead of in the second quarter. There is no option at quarterback on this team right now. Michael Hopkins, I believe with all of my heart that dude has a greater upside than Jackson Arnold does. He's just a true freshman. Jackson Arnold is scared of the moment. Jackson Arnold can't handle pressure. Jackson Arnold can't make a decision, and Jackson Arnold cannot protect the football. That's your problem. Yeah, there's offensive line problems. Yeah, there's wide receiver problems. Yeah, there's running back problems. The entire offense is a problem, but so is your 5-star top paid quarterback. This dude gets paid more money than anybody else on the team. And I'm sorry, I know your take on this, Caleb, and I'm going to kind of like beat you to the punch. You should not, when you're making $1 million to quarterback this football team, and you're in the final minutes of the game, you shouldn't have to waste the timeout for a person who's making $1 million. You should not have to waste a timeout just to say, hey, buddy, are you okay? Everything good? What can we do to coddle you a little bit more? You shouldn't have to do that. Timeouts need to be used so you can throw the ball over the middle of the field and not have to work the sidelines. And I'm sorry, I can't buy into the fact that the coaches are the reason why Jackson Arnold's turning the ball over. If he's not comfortable, he can't do the job. Oklahoma is wasting NIL money on this guy. They're wasting it. They made a bad decision by going with Jackson Arnold over Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel is brilliant. He's the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country. He is going to be a Heisman Trophy front runner. He'll be in New York City. He'll be in the college football playoff, maybe with the top overall seed. Dillon Gabriel made the best decision, but Oklahoma didn't even pitch him. Oklahoma didn't even try to do for him what they're willing to do for Jackson Arnold. This whole thing, the entire thing is a debacle. From the get-go, it's just a mess. There's nothing good, nothing redeemable, nothing salvageable about this offense. It is bad to the core, burn it down, fire everybody, and start over. There. Okay, I needed to get that off my chest.
And I think you're missing my point. My point is not that it's okay to call a timeout to talk to Jackson Arnold and settle him down. My point is everybody knows he does not do well in pressure situations. So instead of letting him go out there running willy-nilly in a high pressure situation with the clock running, call that timeout to get the whole offense who sucks a opportunity to get a play and get their breath caught and then go back out there. That was my point.
But the problem wasn't the play. The problem was the execution. We don't really know what the play was. We know it was a rollout, but the guy literally cannot. The only thing look, I'm not going to argue clock management because it was bad. Okay. It was bad, but you're never going to convince me if you call a timeout and run the play that he's not going to fumble it. He's not going to throw an interception. You're not going to convince me a timeout would have prevented that turnover because the only thing that Jackson Arnold has done since the Alamo Bowl, the only thing he has done consistently is turn the ball over. That's it. And so I'm sorry, I don't buy that a timeout could have prevented the turnover because he has turned the ball over since the Alamo Bowl. Since his insertion, he's not done anything more consistently than turn the football over.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but the thing is, this coaching staff knows exactly what situations he has failed the most at. And that was the exact type of situation that I was typing up a message as soon as he ran the ball up the middle. And I knew the next play was going to be disastrous. I was waiting to send the message because you were on a little bit of delay. So I was waiting to send the message to for the play before that we just ran up the middle because I knew what's going to happen. This offense cannot this, and it's not just Jackson Arnold. It's the entire offense. No one can do good under pressure. And you go back and watch that clip again. The whole offensive line blocks one guy. They all go to the same guy. And that's just my point is, you know, this offense cannot do quick hurry up offense. And that's the play we call with the clock running down, the game on the line. Well, the game wasn't on the line. You got overtime, which I don't think we're winning overtime. But my issue is the coaches knew that situation. And if me, a 24-year-old who hasn't played the game of football since in like not 9 years, 6 years, if I can see that, there's no way that these coaches couldn't have seen that. And if they can't, they shouldn't be coaches.
Caleb,
And
either you have a quarterback who can, or you have a quarterback who can't.
and again, we don't have a quarterback that can.
So
So
the
why?
timeout's not going to help you.
But
Because look, you're saying he doesn't handle that situation. What Jackson Arnold doesn't handle is pressure. He doesn't handle even on the broadcast. They're like, look at his eyes. He's looking down. He's giving up on the play too early. He's gun shy. He's afraid of getting hit. He's afraid of the pressure. He doesn't handle it. And
exactly. So why put him in a situation that's more pressurous?
Because
that's my whole point.
I think you just invented a word there, pressurous. But
I do that a lot in this podcast.
I think this is just me on the outside looking in. Obviously, we're not there in that huddle. I don't know what was said after the game between the coaches and the players, but I'm thinking I've got a guy who cannot handle this situation. I know he can't handle this situation. So what I don't want is for him to take more time and think about it. What I want him to do is get lined up and run the play. That's what I want, because if I call a timeout and I got to talk to him about the moment, talk to him about the pressure, it's going to make it worse because he cannot handle pressure. And since you're in the sixth grade, if you're a quarterback, you're coached since the sixth grade, maybe even younger. But I believe sixth grade is when you start really getting competitive in football. At that age, if you're a quarterback, and I've coached quarterbacks that age, I've coached quarterbacks all the way through high school, and you're taught, do not take a sack and do not turn the ball over. Those are the two things you cannot do in this situation. You're taught that since the sixth grade, Caleb. Don't take a sack. Don't turn the ball over. And Jackson Arnold cannot. He cannot handle that situation. You have a bye week. I'm telling you, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you do not want Jackson Arnold on this campus next year. He is not the guy. He is not the answer. And you're going into this bye week. I would be okay if Brent Venables used the bye week and said, guys, you're all fired. You got 2 games left and then get out of here. And you know what? I don't care what you do at quarterback. Let's throw Michael Hawkins out there. Let's throw somebody else because Kevin Sperry's coming in. And by all that we know, Kevin Sperry may be a better quarterback than what we have on campus. And I guarantee you, Oklahoma is going to the transfer portal to find a quarterback because the answer is not there right now.
It's not. And I mean, the only room that I have faith in going into next year is the running backs room.
Nope. I don't have faith in him either. Because think about, I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping in here, but I'm done with it all. I am done with it all. Burn it down. Burn it down. Fire every offensive coach. I'm tired of, Emmett Jones, he recruits so good. Let's not fire him because he recruits so good. DeMarco Murray, he was such a high caliber player and he recruits so good. You know what? Where is it? Where is the evidence on the field? You can't keep sticking with these guys that Emmett Jones is throwing out there. They're not producing. Oklahoma's wide receivers are not producing. DeMarco Murray, 2 years in a row now, you've got a stable of backs. Gavin Sawchuk was the Gatorade Player of the Year. And then all of a sudden, Xavier Robinson, you wait till the fourth quarter and you put Xavier Robinson in there, and that guy drives the field. Why was he not the guy? What promise did you make to Taylor Tatum, who, by the way, also fumbles the ball consistently, that you got to wait to the fourth quarter for Xavier Robinson to get in the game and finally run some offense? That's when it finally started working. I'm sorry, man. Emmett Jones, you're fired. DeMarco Murray, you're fired. Bill Beatonbow, you're fired. Joe John Finley, you're fired. Kevin Johns, you're fired. Everybody's done. There is nobody worth bringing back, and there's no room to have confidence in. This offense is done. It is toast. Burn it down and rebuild it.
I was not talking about the coaches. I was talking about the players we have in the running back room.
I'm talking about the players. There are no good players in that running back room. Tell me,
I disagree.
Caleb, can you rely on Javonte Barnes for an entire season? It hasn't happened since he's been at the University of Oklahoma. Can you rely on Gavin Sawchuk for an entire season? It hasn't happened at the University of Oklahoma. Can you rely on Taylor Tatum? The dude fumbles the ball. He's just a true freshman. He gets hurt. Tell me why. Why do you have confidence in the running back room when these guys can't stay healthy and they can't hang on to the football? Who is there that you're afraid to lose?
What do you like? This running back room has been productive with the worst offensive line in the country. I mean, like you said, Xavier Robbins comes in and just takes us down the field with ease.
But why wait until the fourth quarter?
Again, I'm not saying that DeMarco Murray needs to have a job, but I'm just saying you don't have a little bit of faith in this running back room for next year.
None. There is not a single position that I have faith in right now on the offense. Not a single position. And you know me, I was high on the tight ends. I was like, they're the guys that are producing. They've been garbage. Maybe they were garbage before I made that bold statement, and I just didn't realize it. These guys are garbage. Look, Tawee Walker is gone. And you know what? Tawee Walker, kudos to him, because he saw the writing on the wall with Dylan Gabriel. Tawee Walker was the best, most consistent running back Oklahoma had last year. And he was like, you know what? We don't know from game in to game out who's the number one guy. We don't know. Is it me? Is it Javonte Barnes? Is it Gavin Sawchuk? And a year later, Caleb, we still don't know. But what we do know is this. Javonte Barnes can't stay healthy for an entire season. Gavin Sawchuk cannot stay healthy for an entire season. I'm sorry, man. There's not a single guy on the offensive side of the ball that I'm like, you can't fire that coach because we may lose him. I mean, tell me who you tell me.
I'm not talking about not firing coaches.
No, but what I'm saying
I already said that. But you said to me right now that with what you've seen from Robinson and Tatum as true freshmen, you get a running backs coach that's a little more competent. Because I have not been high on DeMarco Murray. I've never been high on him. I was not high on him especially after we lost Tawee Walker, who is, you know me, I was high on Tawee Walker as soon as he stepped foot on campus.
No, I'm just telling you right now. I'm agreeing. Keep going. What I'm saying is I'm not confident in the running back room, but keep going because you are. So tell me why.
I've seen what the flashes we've seen from these young running backs with a terrible offensive line. I mean, again, biggest play of the season, and they all go to the same guy. That's just terrible. That just cannot happen. That's inexcusable. I get that you're down 3 starters, but this is week 12, and you all go to the same guy. But yet, we can still manage 122 rushing yards behind that terrible offensive line. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have not played football since my junior year of high school. I can go out there and I can do a better job of blocking than what our offensive line is currently doing. You have to tell me right now that the flashes we've seen, the athleticism from both those young running backs, that doesn't get you a little bit excited if we can get the right guys there?
No, because look, I was supposed to be excited think about this, Caleb. I was supposed to be excited when Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk each ran for 100 yards against Florida State in the Cheez-It Bowl. I was supposed to be excited when Gavin Sawchuk ran for 100 yards for 5 games in a row at the end of last season. I was supposed to be excited for that. I'm not. I'm not excited about anybody in this running back room because they've not proven to me that I'm done. I'm done with a flash in the pan. I'm done with a great fourth quarter drive to tie the game. I'm done with a 100-yard performance. I'm done with a career best performance. I'm done thinking these guys are back. They're not. And you're not going to convince me right now. You won't convince me that Oklahoma cannot look. If they want to stay, stay. But what I'm saying is, you don't sacrifice the offense anymore at the fear of losing somebody.
No, and I agree. I'm not.
And so I don't have
I'm totally
confidence.
with you.
I don't have confidence in any position room at all. There's not a single guy on the offense that makes me say, man, look, if you fire Bill Beanbo, we may lose this guy. If you fire DeMarco Murray, you may lose this guy. I don't care. If you fire Joe John Finley, you may lose this guy. Hit the portal. You think anybody's going to pay Jackson Arnold $1 million next year to quarterback their football team?
No.
Right. He's not worth what he's getting. But if he comes back to Oklahoma, he's going to want $1 million. No, I'm sorry. Bye. I mean, no, it's not. And so you fire, if you're Brent Venables has to understand because here's what happened. Going into Missouri, the pulse of Sooner Nation was this. You got to get an offensive coordinator, Brent, and it's got to be a home run hire. Okay, that was it. That was the pulse going into Missouri. Leaving Missouri is, Brent, you're done. Like the fan base has turned on Brent Venables. This was the game. And I was kind of being facetious at the top of the podcast when I was like, this is where Sooner Magic died. But I'm old enough to remember when this happened with Gary Gibbs. And people joke about the 90s, but look, most of the people that are attending the games, the younger, the 30 and under crowd, they don't remember the 90s. They don't remember how bad it was with Howard Schnellenberger. They don't remember how bad it was with John Blake. But Sooner Magic was dead. It was dead for a decade. And Bob Stoops brought it back, and Brent Venables just killed it. He killed it. It was there. Billy Bowman won this game. He won it. But poor coaching, poor clock management, and absolutely poor execution by players who have no business being on the field in this level of competition killed Sooner Magic. And so I'm sorry. Look, Xavier Robinson, all right, you got talent. I enjoyed what I saw, but you know what? I'm going to go in the portal, and I'm going to find someone better than you because someone better than you is in the portal. That's my approach. You want to be on this team, prove it in the next 2 weeks. You want to hit the portal? We're giving you permission right now. Leave your stuff in the locker. It's a bye week. Leave your stuff in the locker and get ready for the portal. I'm giving a free pass to everybody to walk. I want to find out who wants to be there. And I'm notifying every coach today, Sunday after the game. I'm notifying every offensive coach. Get your resumes ready. Make those phone calls. Talk to your buddies because you're done. You're out of here in 2 weeks. It's over. It is time to burn it down and to rebuild it. We'll get into exactly how bad things are in the next segment. This is the Sooner Nation podcast. Obviously, we're in a bad mood.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
All right, Caleb. Look, man, I really wanted to start this podcast by you telling me, dude, you're an idiot. You remember the Thursday podcast, the pregame podcast, when I picked Oklahoma to lose? And I gave you permission to come back on Sunday night and start out with, you're an idiot for picking Oklahoma to lose. And I was there. I was almost texted you when Billy Bowman scored. I almost texted you with the words, dude, you get to say you're an idiot tomorrow night to start the podcast. But you know what? Look, man, I can't explain in words how bad Jackson Arnold is.
He's
at the level that he plays at the University of Oklahoma. This is a starting quarterback in the SEC playing against a Missouri team that's decent, not great. He finished the game. He completed 15 passes, averaging 3.1 yards. He finished the game with 74 passing yards. 74. Your touchdown pass came from Taylor Tatum, which was an awful pass. I mean, and look, and we're going to, rightfully so, criticize Jackson Arnold, but also say, heck of a catch on a bad pass.
It was an incredible catch, and even an incredible run afterwards. And I'll come back to something a little bit later, but Jackson Arnold is just not a quarterback. He doesn't have the mindset to be a quarterback. And we have seen that from the Alamo Bowl game to every single week, but 2 weeks he has started as an OU quarterback. I mean, he looked great against Maine. Fantastic. Good job. He did it against the FCS school. He looked okay against Ole Miss. And I was kind of like, okay, we got some hope. We got some rhythm. Let's continue. And then you can just tell from the first drive where he fumbles the ball in air.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is going to be a long offensive night. And then he gets a good run, fumbles the ball again. And I fully expected to see Hawkins, and we never did. And I guess because we had the lead, but I mean, I was like, after 2 fumbles, you have to pull him because you know he spirals. And he didn't fumble again until the big moment, but he's just not a quarterback. He doesn't have the mindset for to be a quarterback.
What it comes down to, and all the body language is there, the signs are there. And yes, he's young, but he cannot handle pressure situations. He can't. You know what to me, do you know what the saddest statistic is from last night?
What's up?
Only 3 quarterback sacks. You're talking about a team that turned the ball over 4 times. You're talking about a quarterback who gave the ball away in the most critical the most critical point in the game. Worst case scenario, you punt and you go to overtime. That's the worst case scenario. Oh, no, it's not, because Jackson Arnold is our quarterback. The worst case scenario is you fumble the ball and the opponent gets a scoop and score to beat you. That's now the worst case scenario. And all of that over 3 quarterback sacks. It's not like Missouri was hitting him so hard and taking him down. I mean, look, they were getting pressure in the backfield. I'm not saying that they weren't. But, I mean, this is a guy who was sacked 9 times, 10 times, 7 times in a game, and he gives the ball away in the most critical moment of the game, not because he was getting sacked, but because he cannot handle pressure. You've got a $1 million quarterback who cannot handle pressure. He can't do it. And I don't know any other way to say it. You got to pull the plug. You got to pull the plug on him. I don't see him. I'm with him like I was with the offensive line a long time ago. He's not getting better. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Kevin Johns is coming in here. He finally has a quarterback coach." Blah blah blah, and it looked good. It looked good against Missouri. But
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. It looked great against Maine. But you know what? And maybe it's just the first time I noticed it. Maybe it's the first time maybe it's been there for a while, but I noticed it. There were receivers going to Jackson Arnold and saying, "Dude, what the heck? Why are you running? You have a clean pocket and I'm open." Did you see that?
I did.
Why is he running? He doesn't have the confidence to throw the football. Why is he running? He doesn't know where to throw the football to. Why is he running? He can't read a defense. Why is he running? He can't feel pressure. He can't sense it. He cannot handle this situation. And some quarterbacks have it. Some quarterbacks don't. It's a hit or miss in recruiting. He should have never been a 5-star. But it was based off of what they saw, what they liked in high school. It did not translate to college. It happens. You know who else it happened to? It happened to Drew Pine. Drew Pine was the top-rated quarterback from Connecticut. Notre Dame wanted him. He was so good. He was the crown jewel of the Notre Dame recruiting class. Dude could not play football at Notre Dame. Where did he go? He went to Arizona State. He got hurt, but he couldn't play football at Arizona State. He lands at Missouri. He can't play football at Missouri, but he beat Oklahoma last night because our quarterback is worse. Jackson Arnold took such a huge step backwards that I don't know what it will take for Oklahoma fans to ever put faith back in him. I don't know that we can.
Yeah, we shouldn't see Jackson Arnold at quarterback again at the University of Oklahoma.
I agree. It's that bad. And you know what? Jalil Farouk, sorry, buddy. Deion Burks, sorry, buddy. You guys are bust. You're bust. The season is a bust. There is no good receiver on this team. Not. And Deion Burks was in helmet to helmet. Should have been. No, I don't care. What did he do before that moment? Nada.
He fumbled the ball. That's what he did.
Yeah. And so we got 5 minutes left in this segment because here's what I want to throw at you. I'm on the fence. I like Brent Venables. I like him as a coach. I like him as a guy. I like him as a defensive coordinator. But this is on him. This is on Brent Venables. He made a huge mistake in trusting Seth Luttrell. Huge mistake. He made a huge mistake in choosing Jackson Arnold. And I think the biggest mistake that Brent made was, I believe, now this is just reading between the lines. I believe that Jackson Arnold's family told Brent Venables, look, Jeff Lebby leaves. We're comfortable with Seth Luttrell. We'll stay with Seth Luttrell. And Brent Venables put his bet on those two guys.
And it's not proven, but that's proven. I mean, this is the offense that Seth Luttrell tried to run was the offense that Seth Luttrell and Jackson Arnold's dad came up with. This was the offense that Jackson Arnold ran in high school. And the issue is this. High school offenses and college offenses don't run the same at all. You can't. Because you know why? Because against a high school defense, you might have 1 to 2 Division I talent guys on the field we run it against. In college, you have 11. And I don't know what happened if Joe John was just completely fooling us with the first 2 games he called. But the game he called against Missouri was nothing we've seen. We saw no creativity until the last play. We saw nothing that we like. The options were not there. We didn't see us run a single option play. We did not see the 4-man backfield with 2 running backs and a tight end. That just all disappeared. And I get it, we ran that against Maine, but that was stuff I thought we were putting film out there. So like, hey, this is what we're going to run, but when we run against you, we're going to run a little bit differently. None of that. That just disappeared. You know you're down a running back, your star running back. You know you're down an offensive line, 3 offensive linemen. So why in the world would you not do the formation that gives you extra blockers? Because we were, at the beginning of the game, we were running the ball. And then you get away from that and you don't go back to it until the fourth quarter. We want to talk about, oh, Robertson just came out of nowhere in the fourth quarter. It's because we started running the ball again. I mean, Taylor Tatum, 8 carries. The running backs had a combined 18 carries. Why in the world is Bauer Sharp taking handoffs in the backfield? Why in the world is Bauer Sharp still running these tunnel screens? You have guys that are back.
Yeah, but look, let me just, because there's 2 minutes. I'm going to give you the last, I'm going to say this for 10 seconds, and then you got the rest of the time. Look, I get that it didn't work. And kudos to Joe John for not going back to some of that stuff. But the idea is you got Farouk back, you got Burks back. You're going to run guys deep, and that's going to bring safeties back. Corners are going to be deeper, and you're supposed to beat somebody one-on-one. The problem is it wasn't one-on-one because they couldn't block. It was 1-on-3. And that's go ahead.
The problem is they don't respect the deep shot because you hadn't taken a deep shot. So yeah, and I went back and I looked at it. Farouk was down the field, nobody on him. Burks was halfway down the field with a guy close to him. They were stacking the box. Go back and look at that. If you hand that ball off to Farouk, hand that ball off to Tatum, hand that ball off to legit any other guy besides Bauer Sharp, it gets 3-4 yards. Maybe they make a man miss and they get some more. But Bauer Sharp is not athletic enough to make a cutback. Bauer Sharp's not fast enough to do a jet sweep. And I defended him against Zach Sanchez because we have seen him make plays as a tight end.
Right.
But we keep asking him to do stuff that's not a tight end. The biggest play of the night goes to Bauer Sharp when he ran a tight end route.
Right.
So why in the world are we expecting him to do the same thing on tunnel screens? Tunnel screens have not worked for him all season long. Give him the ball in the middle where he thrives. That's where Bauer Sharp works, not behind the line of scrimmage. And that's my frustration is this game, I feel like, was not a Joe John Finley game. It was a Seth Luttrell play calling.
We'll get into that. I want to talk. I want to come back to that. We got to take a quick break. This is a Sooner Nation podcast. We're going to pick up right there, Caleb. Oklahoma drops the big one against the Missouri Tigers on final score 30-23 on Saturday night. Oklahoma's bowl hopes are pretty much dashed at this point because I don't know who would have confidence in Oklahoma upsetting Alabama. The Sooners will be a double-digit dog at home to Alabama, and they'll be a double-digit dog on the road at LSU. It's insane to think about this team not going to a bowl game, but that's where we were. That's how big that loss was in Columbia on Saturday night. Caleb, I want to pick up this segment kind of where we dropped off on this very therapeutic episode of the Sooner Nation podcast. I'm on the record. I've said, and I will say, offensive coaching staff needs to be gone. There's not a coach that needs to stay. Regardless of accolades, regardless of recruiting, regardless of what a nice guy they are, the product on the field is the worst and most inept offensive schematic and execution that we have seen since Bob Stoops. Well, since before, sorry, I guess since before Bob Stoops came. So you got to go back to the 1998 season. This is bad, man. It's bad. But that said, I do want to throw this scenario out at you because I feel like the easy thing to do, the easiest way to criticize is to say, well, the play calling just isn't right. You don't, and I'm not saying that's what you sound like, but that's always my mocking Sooner fan voice. Imagine you've played football, Caleb. You've been around the game. As a coach, particularly a coordinator, your job is to know your strengths with any given personnel set. So, for example, when I have Javante Barnes, I know I can do X, Y, and Z. When I have Javante Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk at the same time, I can do these options. When I have Deion Burks and Andrell Anthony, I have Nick Anderson, this is what I can do, right? So imagine it's Thursday and you've been trying to put your game plan together. You go to Bill Bedenbaugh. Coach, tell me who your starting five is going to be. Bill Bedenbaugh picks up his clipboard and he's like, you know what, Joe? I don't know. I don't know who my starting five is right now because of these issues I'm working with. Coach, try to figure it out for me, please. Then you go to Emmett Jones. Emmett, tell me what we're doing, man. What's our receiver rotation look like? Joe John, I don't know, man. Deion Burks may go, he may not. Jilla Farouk's getting better. We got this problem, we got that problem. I don't know. I don't know who I'm going to give you as a rotation on receivers. Coach, you got to figure it out. DeMarco, what do we got for running backs, man? Who am I working with on Saturday? Joe John, you know the struggle we're having at running back. It's been a 2-year thing now. I can't figure out who's supposed to play. So I don't know. It could be Javante Barnes. It could be Gavin Sawchuk. It could be Taylor Tatum. It could be Xavier Robinson. I don't know who we're going to put in the game yet. I don't know who your starting guy is going to be. I don't know how many times we're going to rotate. The only thing that Joe John Finley knows is his tight ends. That's all he knows. Now, I'm not excusing it, but you're wanting to know why does Bauer Sharp get so many play calls? Could it be that the only thing that Joe John Finley knows going into the game day is that Bauer Sharp is going to play? I mean, is that legitimately a possibility? Because I think it is. Now, it's not an excuse for Joe John Finley. I think the dude needs to be fired.
Here's my thing on that.
But it's just that's how bad this offense is. Yeah, go ahead.
You talk about all he knows is his tight end room. He should know that Bauer Sharp's not fast enough to run a jet sweep successfully. He should know from time and time again this season that Bauer Sharp cannot take a tunnel screen and move it up the field. But yet, that's the play calls we go to. He should know, okay, if I want to get Bauer Sharp involved, I need to get him moving to the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to get Bauer Sharp involved, if I want to use Bauer Sharp as a running back, let me do that diamond formation and have him just directly hand the ball and hit the middle. I just feel like for some reason you have been in love with the tight ends and you've kind of gone back on that. But I've been on fire Joe John Finley since week 3, 4. And I agree. There's no one on this coaching staff that I really feel like, yeah, you should be back next year. And I know a lot of people are like, look at Bill Bedenbaugh. Bill Bedenbaugh hasn't really been he's the reason we're in this situation. I mean, I get you can try to well, Lincoln Riley only gave him 2 scholarships. I mean, he should have spoken up like, hey, I need more than that.
Well, even at that, I mean, the head coach is the boss, but I mean, Lincoln Riley's been gone for 3 years, and there's this thing called the transfer portal, and you're supposed
And
to
he,
evaluate talent. And you're like, hey, these guys ain't cutting it, man. We got to go to the transfer portal. And the guys that came out of the transfer portal, guess what? They suck, and that's who Bill Bedenbaugh recruited.
I mean, can I even finish my
I'm
statements?
sorry, man. I'm just in a bad spot.
Because
I'm in
that's
a bad
exactly
spot.
where I was going.
Okay.
Is I mean, this this guy looked at Spencer Brown and said,
Right.
"Yeah, that guy is SEC level talent." Spencer Brown, like I am pretty sure that my little sister, who weighs maybe 100 pounds, can give a better effort of blocking a defensive end than he can. That guy looks lost on every single play. And
Mhm.
my biggest issue is, and I get that you want to redshirt Caden Green, not Caden Green.
Yeah, there
He's
you
he's
go.
like,
There's a mistake.
yeah, yep. Eddie Pierre, you want to redshirt those guys, but yeah, they looked lost against Maine. But do you know what they did when they looked lost against Maine? They went and hit somebody.
Mhm.
Nobody on that offensive line last night was going out and hitting people. So I mean, give me Danny Akume, whatever his name is. Give me Eugene Brooks. Give me Eddie Pierre-Louis, throw them out there, screw their red shirts, and have them go hit somebody. Because that's be better. You want to, if you want to save, if Bill Bedenbaugh wants to save his job, all the young guys need to play against Alabama. If he wants a legit shot, he needs to show, okay, this is who I have to work with the next few seasons. Let me do what I do. If same thing with DeMarco Murray, if he wants to be like, yeah, this is what I can do. This is the guys I got. Screw Robinson's red shirt, throw him out there, and let him play running back.
Mhm.
Tell Gavin Sawchek, tell Barnes, hey, y'all had your shots. I don't know who you guys are, how dependable you guys are. I'm going with these two guys. It's time. You're 5-5. Bowl game is probably not gonna happen.
It's not. It's not
Play
happening.
these young guys and let them get that experience. Woody Washington, I'm sorry. You've been a good corner for us, but we're just gonna ride it out with these young guys from now on. It's that time of the year. It's these guys who are supposed to be your veteran players. They're not cutting it. So if you want to save your jobs, say screw those guys. Give me these young guys who look hungry and look to want to represent Oklahoma that's uncrossed their chest. Because I tell you right now, Spencer Brown doesn't care. And that, I mean, if if he cared, he would have done something. He would have. I mean, you talk about that fumble that Jackson Arnold had. Spencer Brown doesn't even come within a mile of touching that defensive end. I mean, just give me somebody that's gonna okay, I'm gonna mess up, but I'm gonna go take somebody's head off. I mean, I was told, and I played O-line, and I had some good offensive line coaches. I was told if you're gonna screw up 100%. Go take somebody's head off. And I remember there's one game I got a 15-yard penalty for unnecessary roughness because I whiffed on my block. I went and found the next closest guy, and I just went and took him out. And if you get a 15-yard penalty, at this point, I'll be happy. Why? Because we're seeing aggression, we're seeing violence, something this offensive line has not done all year long.
Well, we saw a good example of that against Maine with EPL. I mean,
Yeah.
we applauded that penalty just
So
because of the aggressiveness.
for the long shot that Coach Bill Beatenbow, you're listening, play the young guys. Show us something. Show us some type of life from this offensive line room. Or if not, because I've been, okay, you give Beatenbow the year off. You give him he's still dealing with, and I get it that it's been 3 years since uh Lincoln Riley left. He's still rebuilding from that. But I mean, these guys aren't cutting it. Show us the young guys that you have
Mhm.
recruited with you bringing in a lot of young talent. Show us what they got. Show us that there are signs that you can be of value to this team next year. Same thing for DeMarco Murray. I'm Emmett Jones. I'm sorry. You might just be out of luck just because you have a terrible quarterback situation. Your wide receivers haven't looked good. Jacob Jordan's, who kind of has been your savior, drops a big third down. Deion Burks finally gets back and he fumbles the ball. Farouk was there for 2 plays and then he couldn't give it a go anymore. And now he's talking about being just cutting it off and being done and redshirting the season. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means he's going to redshirt and be back next year. I don't know what that looks like for Farouk, but I mean, there's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot of you played your young talent and young talent doesn't look good. But I mean, if these coaches want to be in Oklahoma next year, they got to say, screw being the nice guy, screw your shot at being to the NFL. I'm sorry, you suck. I'm gonna play my young guys. That's what time it is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just feel like if you're going to protect guys, try to protect red shirts. I don't buy that. I don't. But it's what makes sense. But I don't buy it because you have to beat Missouri to go to a bowl game, and it's such a gross over evaluation of the talent that you have to think that you could go to Missouri and win with the guys you put on the field. And so you basically sacrificed the bowl streak. Oklahoma's gone to a bowl game every year since 1999. Since before you were born, Caleb, Oklahoma's gone to a bowl game every year. And that's going to come to an end so you can redshirt a couple of guys. I just don't buy it. But I don't understand it otherwise.
I mean, I agree. This and I guess we can just jump straight into segment 3 if you're ready.
No, yeah, let's do that because I'm gonna let you have it because you're doing such a great job. I ranted the first half of the podcast. Now it's your turn, but I will say this: Brent Venables is not getting fired just because of how much money they would have to pay him in a buyout. He's not getting fired.
Do we need
do what?
do we need to take a quick break before I go on my rant?
No, let's stick with it for a minute.
Okay.
But I will say this: Brent Venables, his job was to get Oklahoma ready for the SEC. And he has failed. He has failed at that job. He'll get a 4th year just because of how much money they would have to give him. But undoubtedly, he's on the hot seat. Go ahead, take it away.
I mean, I'm with you. Brent Venables has his defense looking like exactly what it's supposed to look like. But Brent Venables has failed as a head coach. He took the easy route to hiring a offensive coordinator, and that has impacted us just tremendously. He has not done good at game time management, and he has not done a good job of being hands-on with the offense. And I get that he's trying to be more hands-on with the offense, but it's too late. It's a little too late. I question his ability to make the big coaching decisions like, hey, EPL, we're going to go ahead and redshirt him. Let's just not worry about really having him give it a go at Missouri. Because, I mean, just Michael Versusi, our best, not Michael Versusi, that's the incoming freshman.
Who may not be an incoming freshman, but
yeah.
that's for another day. But go ahead.
I am who was the other big transfer we got from on the offensive line?
Well, I mean, you had a couple of them. I don't know who exactly you're referring to, but you had you had the guys that got hurt, like Garrett Hatchett, the kid that also came from SMU. I don't know which one you're trying to pull out of the old memory stick here, buddy.
Hey, give me a second. I am trying to find it. Fabechi Nwewu, the right guard.
Gotcha.
He has been Oklahoma's best offensive lineman this year. I get that he might not have many reps at right tackle, but I just don't understand how he doesn't go to Bill Beadham and go, hey, Spencer Brown can absolutely not play. Figure something else out. I mean, give me Fabechi Nuewu, who played right guard. I get that he played, I think it was Texas State he came from, but put him there and then give me EPL. Allow him to be the violent, because that's what this offense needed. You go back and you look at that Missouri offense, even when they were stagnant, their offensive line was pushing guys around. They were pushing OU players after the play. They were being chippy. And that's what won you games. There was nothing from that. There was no sign of life from this offensive line. And I get it. You have a lot of young guys out there. Logan Howell, redshirt freshman. Heath Ozida, redshirt freshman. Then you got Troy Everett, who looked banged up. My hat's off to that guy. That guy has not been healthy this entire season, and he's been one of the most reliable guys. Fabechi Nwewu, again, a guy that came from Texas State, and he's your best offensive lineman. Are you
Mhm.
kidding me?
Right.
And I mean, no shot at Fabechi Nwewu because he has stepped up to the task. But I mean, you got a guy like Spencer Brown, who came from another Power Five program, but he just looks awful. No wonder he transferred. He probably got booted off Michigan State. But it's time to do the uncomfortable ass. Tell these seniors that can't give us what we need that they're done. Your football career is over. I'm sorry. Maybe try the AFL. Maybe try the Arena Football League. Try something different. College is done for you. It's time to have those conversations. Tell Convention Nuevo, hey, if you want to be a Sooner next year, let's see what you can do at right tackle. Give us, if you're gonna, I get that you might mess up, but if you mess up, don't just stand there and watch the defensive end go sack your quarterback. Go take somebody's head off by doing it. It's time. And I'm with you. Brent Venables, this is not the year that he gets fired. Mainly because I still think he's a young head coach. He can learn from these mistakes. He has to go get offense. What this offense looks like this time next year is going to depend on if Brent Venables is the head coach at Oklahoma anymore. He's got to go get an offensive coordinator and get a quarterback in this room immediately. And if Hawkins wants to really stay and be like, hey, I'm going to battle this guy. I think I'm better. I am okay with that. Let Hawkins battle it out. Let Kevin Sperry battle it out. But go get a guy. I mean, Washington State, their offensive coordinator is one that you brought up. They got a true sophomore quarterback who's done pretty good this season. I think he has like 24, 25 touchdowns to 6 interceptions.
Mhm.
Go grab that guy. Because go get somebody like that. Because if you get that offensive coordinator, most likely that quarterback's going to come with them. I'm not saying for sure that he would for sure come. I'm not saying for sure he would do good at the University of Oklahoma, but go get an offensive coordinator that has a lot of hype around him that's going to want guys in. Go get a guy that's going to be, okay, hey, we got some people hitting the portal. Look what I did over here. I'm now at University of Oklahoma. It's time to play big boy football. Come join me. Because that's something the University of Oklahoma, even after a 5-7 season, is still going to be attractive. It's the University of Oklahoma. I mean, look at the University of Texas. They were garbage for years, but they still got big names. Why? Because they're the University of Texas. Now, it took them a minute to get a coach that was in there to be able to uh, act actually develop them. But the University of Oklahoma, we're going to get guys even when we have down years. But one thing we cannot do is shoot ourselves in the foot and turn us into a program like Nebraska. And how do you do that? You fire Brent Venables this season, and whoever comes in next season has to clean up both the offense and the defense. Because if you fire Brent Venables, you lose everything on the defense. And the next guy is going to have to be like, okay, I have to worry about getting offense and defensive players through the portal. We've seen how hard it is to hit on guys through the portal. Having to rebuild an entire roster through the portal, it's going to be ugly. And it's going to be back to back, probably losing seasons to start the SEC. And then that's how you spiral. Let Brent Venables have at least one more year to get an offense under his feet. And then we can be like, okay, fire Brent Venables. And I get it that this offense is most likely on Brent Venables' head, on his chest, because if he handles that, and I want to see what you think about this, but I feel very strongly if he handled the Art Briles situation last season better, Jeff Levy doesn't leave the University of Oklahoma to take the job at Mississippi State. You can't tell me that Jeff Levy looked at that and said, "Yeah, that's a desirable job."
No, I think Jeff was gone. I think Jeff Levy was gone. I don't think the idea was that Dylan Gabriel was going to go to the NFL and Jeff Levy was gone. Now Dylan Gabriel trusted the scouts and the reports that came, found out he could make more money by going to Oregon than going to the NFL, move closer to the West Coast so his family can get there from Hawaii. And Jeff Levy wanted to be a head coach.
And I understand that.
And I guess what I'm saying is I don't think Jeff left to go to Mississippi State just because of the Art Briles situation. Jeff Levy was always going to leave.
I don't think that he was going to be the offensive coordinator for the University of Oklahoma for years to come. But you about to tell me right now that Brent Venables handled that situation perfectly because he didn't. And I get it. Art Briles is a terrible, terrible scumbag human being. But the way that he handled that situation, I can see the tension build between those two. And we saw that in the outcome of those next couple of games with the losses to Kansas and the losses to Oklahoma State. But by the time right now, you're in Jeff Levy's position. You're going into year 3 SEC with Oklahoma. You kind of get your feet wet. You got some stuff, momentum building. You just had a 10-2 regular season. That Mississippi State is a desirable job because it's not. Why? Because Mississippi State is exactly where Oklahoma would be if they fired Brent Venables. He has to do a complete rebuild, and that's what he's doing, and he's struggling doing that rebuild. And I don't think he's going to last very long there. And I think he knows that, but he knew that his time at Oklahoma was coming to an end. He knew he didn't want to be with Brent Venables anymore. So he took the first available job because there's going to be more desirable jobs to pop up in the upcoming seasons. And he could have got a bigger fish if he would have waited a year. And I think if personally, you can disagree, you can think whatever you want to think, not just talking to you, but the viewers as well. I think if that situation was handled a little bit better, Jeff Levy would still be on campus this year.
I mean, I strongly disagree. I do. And I don't even want to give Brent Venables the full blame for that. Jeff Levy screwed that up just as much as Brent Venables did.
Oh, I agree.
And
that was a terrible situation.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it'd just be hard because I love my father. My father-in-law is amazing. I know most people say this, but I honestly think I had the best father-in-law in the world. My father-in-law, I mean, I would go to hell and back for that man. And I don't think I could handle my boss saying things. Now, I understand my father-in-law would never do something the caliber that Art Briles did. So I just feel like if that's just a sticky situation and it was not a good situation, and I feel like that kind of drew a rift. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a few weeks now. I just didn't know how to fit that in. I thought, hey, this might be the perfect moment to fit that in.
Well, I also know you, and I know your character, and I'm pretty confident that you would not take your father-in-law to a place, specifically a place where your boss told you never to take him to.
That is very true.
So that's all I'm saying. Look, that was a bad situation. Jeff Levy screwed it up. Brent Venables screwed it up, but I don't think Jeff Levy was always going to leave after last season. That was the plan. And so I think maybe that's a reach. We got true or false coming up. Caleb's going to ask the questions. We're going to wrap up this episode. Thanks for hanging out with us so much. This is the Sooner Nation podcast. Caleb, before we jump into true or false, we have spent this entire episode, just rightfully so, bashing the offense. But it has to be, I mean, it's got to be noted. Billy Bowman's touchdown was the Sooner Magic that should have won this game. But the defense turned around and just straight up melted right after that.
I mean, 55 seconds is how long it took Missouri to go down and score.
Yes.
And I get it. You're going to force a fourth down, be fourth and long, and you get a questionable holding call, but you still got to bow up. And I mean, the next drive, you had third and 16, and you let Drew Pine run straight up the middle on you. And again, and that is going to, I think Zach Alley's calling defensive plays. This was a terrible defensive call game as well.
Yeah.
Go back and look. We stunted our linebackers more than we stunted our defensive line, and Missouri took advantage of that time and time again. I finally got to the point where I just said, stop moving Danny from the middle. Because wherever Danny was, that's exactly where at the opposite they were running the ball. And so when Danny was not in the middle, that's when they abused us up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
His presence was that big in this game that they knew, hey, do not run towards him, run away from him. And so I saw as soon as Danny stunted to the outside, I was like, the middle's going to be wide open. And it was. And that was just inexcusable. And then I saw people frustrated with Eli Bowen because, again, I get it. He's undersized. That was a perfectly guarded play by Eli Bowen. That was just that much more impressive toe tap grab by Theo Weiss. People need to give credit to Theo Weiss a little bit more than what they want to. I get that. And I didn't understand. I thought that he left on good terms, but apparently not. I understand why he wanted to leave. He was getting outshined. He was going to be the number one guy at Missouri. Then Luther Burden just turned out to be the star that he is. But Theo Weiss is a great receiver, and that showed last night. And that was just an unbelievable play. And I am fairly confident that anybody else on that Missouri roster, including Luther Burden, was not going to make that play. That was just a fantastic play.
It was a really good play. But look, I'm a part of the Sooner Nation. We're not the most kind to people that transfer, especially transfer in conference. And I think Theo may have left under good terms, but it didn't stay that way because of things that were said. But it is what it is. Look, I got no problem with Theo flipping the bird to the fans and talking trash because you know what? They talk trash about him and he won. So, if you're not ready to hear it back from the guys you're talking trash to, you probably shouldn't be talking trash.
Exactly.
Let's go to true or false. Close this thing out. You're asking the questions. This is where you throw out a statement. I'll tell you whether it's true or false, and I'll tell you why. Let's close out the podcast with this. Go ahead, Caleb.
Well, I kind of feel bad because majority of the true false questions I have, we already talked about in the first half of the podcast. So I condensed it down to 3. And then we've already talked about majority of those as well.
Nice.
So I'm just gonna there's only one that we have not talked about, so I'll say that one for last.
There we go.
So I'll go with this one. True or false? Brent Venables needs at least one more year before we pull the plug on him.
No, that's false. Now he's going to get one more year because of the contract, because of the buyout. But this is on Brent Venables. Make no mistake about it. This was on Brent Venables. His job was not to build a defense. We get lost in that, thinking that his job was to build a defense, and he did that, but that's not his job. His job was to prepare this program to play in the SEC, and he has failed at that. Yes, Seth Luttrell was a bad offensive coordinator, but who hired Seth Luttrell? Yes, Jackson Arnold is a bad quarterback, but who was in there to make the decision to recruit Jackson Arnold, to keep him as a part of this team and to make him the NIL champion of this team after Jeff Lebby and Dylan Gabriel left? This failure, it's not on Seth Luttrell. It's not on Joe John Finley. It's not on DeMarco Murray. It's not on Bill Bedenbaugh. It's not on Emmett Jones. The failure of what's happening with Oklahoma football, this is going to be epic. They've not gone to a bowl game since 1998. Now, Brent Venables already gave them the first losing season since before Bob Stoops. He's about to give them the first non-bowl season since before Bob Stoops. His job was to get this team ready for the SEC, and he has failed at that job. He does not deserve another year, but he's going to get it because of his contract.
Okay. Number 2, true or false, we have to get a quarterback out of the portal.
Absolutely. That's true. We and you're right. We've already talked about it here on the podcast. The answer is not on campus, and you don't want to put it on Kevin Sperry, another true freshman coming in. We saw Michael Hawkins is a very talented quarterback. I mean, I think he's still got a high ceiling, but you don't want to do that again with Kevin Sperry. You got to get somebody. There's going to be guys out there floating around, and he's got to be closer. He's got to be closer to Dylan Gabriel caliber than he is to Davis Bevel caliber. You've got to go and you've got to get a quarterback and not a general booty. You've got to get a guy out of the portal who can come in and be your starting quarterback from day one.
All right. I'm going to throw in 4 because I thought of another one. True or
Nice.
false, Jackson Arnold should switch positions. He should go find a school that would take him as a tight end over a quarterback.
That's false. He needs to switch level of competition. Jackson Arnold's not ready for this level of play. He thought he was. Brent Venables thought he was. Much of the fan base thought he was. I want you to be my backup on this, Caleb. I was saying in August, he's not the man.
You were.
And so I was saying that in August. There was a few people out there who looked at that bowl game and thought, this is not going to go well. He just needs to change the level of competition. He'll excel. He'll excel in the FCS or even Division II, just because the pressure that of 85,000 people is not on top of him, and the money that comes with. I mean, we talk about NIL, but there's pressure that comes with being the highest paid athlete on the team, or one of the top 3 highest paid athletes on the team. There's pressure that comes with that. Jackson Arnold's not ready for that, but that'll be a different story out of the lower level.
True or false, Casey Thompson should get a shot at playing quarterback at the University of Oklahoma.
What is the deal with Casey Thompson? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't either.
Why is he at Oklahoma? You're telling me that he's not better than Jackson Arnold? You're telling me that he's not better than Michael Hawkins? I mean, the guy's a seasoned veteran. Oh, but he turns the ball over. Well, guess what? Your starting $1 million quarterback just literally gave the game away. I don't get it. I don't know if Casey's, Casey and Cameron Rising are linked. And the word on the street is Cameron Rising is going to go for year 7. Is Casey trying to find a way to go for another year by not playing this year? What is happening? Why is he on this team? I don't understand it. There's no way you'll convince me that Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins are a better option than Casey Thompson. Tell me why he's not playing. True, Casey Thompson should have been on the field, should be on the field. I just don't get it, Caleb. What's the deal?
Unless it's hey, Casey, we just kind of want more than 2 guys in this quarterback room. Just come. You don't really need to come to practice. You don't really need to do that much. Get your $50K NIL and just kind of be a Oklahoma Sooner. I don't get it. I mean, he torched Oklahoma at Texas. I mean, I get that he lost that game, but he still put almost 400 yards. He was not a terrible quarterback at the University of Texas. He was a terrible quarterback on a terrible Nebraska team.
But he had a good game against Oklahoma.
He had an okay game against Oklahoma.
He
And
had a
then
good.
he was doing pretty good at Florida Atlantic until he got hurt. I just, I mean, just tell me why he shouldn't get a shot. And I'm with you. Like, I would be totally okay with him trotting out against Alabama and kind of see what he can do. And the only reason why I think that won't happen is because this coaching staff's kind of scared that he's going to come out and ball out, and people are like, what the crap? What was this? Where was this at?
Now again, back me up, because one of us on this podcast has been calling for Casey Thompson since Tennessee.
You have been.
Okay.
And the only difference is Cam Rising had an 8th year of eligibility already coming into this season, to where I think Casey Thompson played more than 4 games last year before he got hurt. So I don't think.
But I think you can say recovery. I think you can say that he's still recovering from that injury that cost him last year and it also cost him this year. And you can apply from hardship or medical. I think. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, Caleb.
It doesn't. And even if that's the case, he still should get. He can still play in 4 games this year and be able to apply for that. So yeah, I would totally love to see him trot out there against Alabama. He might suck, and if he does, that's okay because our quarterbacks have already sucked.
Yes, they have. And this episode comes to a conclusion. It's been great. It's been therapeutic. It's been frustrating living it all over again. But hey, enjoy the bye week. Oklahoma doesn't play next weekend. Hey, thanks so much for everybody who listens and checks us out. Have a great week. Boomer Sooner.
But I would walk 500